The council would like to hear from Chief Nim Kidd of Texas, Governor Abbott, who I will tell you has done, in our eyes, a remarkable job both responding to the disasters of the Hill Country flooding in early July, but is also a valued member of the FEMA Review Council. Chief Kidd, what we would appreciate is hearing I know what would be a difficult report from you, both for the secretaries and to this council of those tragic events of the 4th of July in the Hill Country of Texas. Chief Kidd, I'll recognize you for that report.
Thank you, Governor. I want to start by thanking my boss, Governor Abbott, on the line for his continued support and leadership in our Texas legislature. I think we are one of the few states in the nation whose State Emergency Operations Center is open 24/7, 365 and staffed ready to go. That's only because of the leadership and the support of our Texas legislature and Governor Abbott. We are also staffed with full-time meteorologists, and we are constantly watching the weather of what's happening in our state from all threats and all hazards. We open up our calls to all 254 county elected officials and all 1,216 city officials on a daily basis to make sure we are singularly focused and singularly coordinated on the threats that face our state. On the morning of Wednesday, July the 2nd, we held a statewide weather call, and we had over 500 lines call into that call to make sure that our local officials were informed of not only the weather we were facing for that holiday weekend coming up, but know what resources the governor had placed out across the state. By Thursday morning, resources were in place across the state of Texas, covering 44 of the 254 Texas counties. Those 44 counties are roughly the size of Indiana. We all know on Friday morning, July 4th, in the early morning hours, we had a 9-mile high rain cloud that dropped a tremendous amount of water in one location, and it did not move. That rainfall caused a 36-foot rise in water in about a 45-minute period. That impacted many of our campers that were there on vacation for the 4th of July celebrating our Independence Day, as well as we all know, Camp Mystic and some of the children that were there that we lost in that tragic event. I want to quickly talk, Governor, about what worked. And I'll tell you right now, what worked was the support from our federal partners and our other states. The United States Coast Guard was there with us immediately, as well as the Border Patrol and their Borstar team. Resources arrived immediately, and this is important, upon request and without delay. We all know that getting too many resources too early in the event can be a problem in and of itself. Command and control is very important, and the sequencing and layering of resources that come in has got to be communicated and coordinated. Our pre-positioned assets quickly tied in with federal partners and federal assets and reinforced the state's support. Secretary Noem, I want to thank you for your direct communication with us and Governor Abbott. I want to thank the White House for their fast decision-making and the high-level coordination that came from all of the DHS team. The White House was there and provided consistent report, reinforcing local and state response, never taking over and never getting in the way. Our federal assets integration was seamless. There was no friction between state and federal partners. That hasn't happened in the past. Too many times our federal partners have come in, whether they've been part of the military department or other resource, and think it's their response to handle instead of supporting our state and local government. I also want to thank the 27 states and the governors that sent resources to support us. The Emergency Management Assistance Compact worked. It worked very well. We got what we needed when we asked for it. There was no delay in that response. And finally, I need to thank all of our local partners that were there, that were ahead of the time, many of them volunteers in many of this rural part of Texas, that left their homes, their families, and their businesses to be there for our local partners. And then the men and women of Texas A&M Task Force 1, one of the 28 FEMA Urban Search and Rescue teams. Those people were there ahead of the event and saved countless number of lives. I'd quickly like to go to the next slide and talk about some areas for improvement and things that, Governor, we've talked about on this council, and I want to reinforce the need to continue to improve. Debris management has got to take place faster at the local and the state and the federal level. And I want to thank Secretary Noem and the White House, because we were able to work through this event looking at private property debris, commercial debris, wet debris, as well as the myriad of trees that were on everybody else's private property. we had one debris package that we were able to work through, and picking up that debris as fast as possible and helping with the search and rescue efforts through the debris pickup has been phenomenal. Second, we need to keep working on housing. The individual assistance program was turned on immediately, grateful for that. But as we all know, the backbone of recovery for individuals is not in the federal dollar. Governor, as you mentioned, it's in our local partners and our faith-based organizations. We had over 19,000 volunteers that showed up to support Texans during their time of need. Many of our faith-based organizations are still on the ground and helping rebuild. Many of our Texas performers are raising money. Over $120 million raised to support homes. Governor Abbott was there with the King of Country Music, George Strait, raised money. We have already put tens of thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of dollars back into people helping rebuild their home. The financial relief has got to continue to move at the pace that it does, because 55 days after the event, we still have people that are out of their homes, but they all have a safe place to stay right now, and they are all starting the rebuilding process. We've got to continue to innovate in our case management solutions. Case management has got to be turned on, as we've talked about in many of our work sessions here. We've got to turn on case management at the beginning of the incident. We cannot wait days, weeks, or months to get our case management turned back on. And then the need for meteorological forecasting and communications. As much as we all want to know when it's going to rain, where it's going to rain, how much it's going to rain, and how fast it's going to fall, technology does not meet our expectations yet. And so as locals, as state, and as federal partners, we've got to come up with a better way to forecast the weather and make sure that our communications are shared with our local partners. And then on the last thing that I want to talk about that we need to improve is really would like some help with the Internal Revenue Service and the 501c3 status of nonprofits to quickly get money donated from great Americans trying to get into the hands of other great Americans. The 501c3 status could use a little bit of attention that we can look at together, and I hope that's something that we can talk about. And then finally, for my last slide, Secretary Noem, I want to thank you. In my 30 years of doing this job and in this business, this has been the fastest and most effective federal support Texas has ever received. Your leadership, Secretary, your partnership, asking what we need, listening what we need, being there with us, walking the streets and walking the flooded areas with us, talking to the family members is unheard of, and I'm grateful for you. Texas Task Force 1, one of our federal search and rescue team, fully equipped, fully trained, fully funded, was able to deploy at my direction in addition to all of the other teams that you sent. I'm grateful for that. The partnership brought the right resources, the right place at the right time. It saved lives and it made a difference. And Governor, that's the end of my prepared remarks. Happy to answer any questions if there are.